Okay, let's call this meeting to order if we could, please. Let the record show that Magistrate Lear is absent, please. First order of business would be the minutes. Minutes from the May 15th meeting mailed to the magistrates.
Motion to approve is presented.
Motion's been made by Sam Hutchins to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second by Jerry Hahn. All approved, say aye. Aye. Disapprove? Motion carries. I'm short of hand here, so I need some motions here. I'll be fast one.
We'll make it happen.
On the bills list and transfers, any questions on the bills list and transfers?
I had a few questions, but Rhonda answered them for me. So.
Most of it routine, what I saw.
That's all right.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills and the transfers.
Motion been made by Keith Metcalf. Thank you, Mr. Metcalf.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Bernard Ice. I'm trying to say this loud enough where she can. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove? The motion will carry. Next would be the first reading of the 2018 and 19 budget. You guys have had that for several weeks. We pointed out a few little minor changes with the one big change that we mailed out just as a pass-through. The Stephen Foster Drama renovation, we put a number in the budget. It's a pass-through. Money will come in from the Drama Association to us, and we'll pay the bills. That amount was $750,000.
I was asking Rhonda this yesterday, up to a certain amount, you know, she don't mind paying the small bills, but if it's a large bill, are we going to get the money from them first before she pays the bill?
Most of the money, when we're opening bids tomorrow, by the way, so we'll know more about where we're at. But just to secure us and be in the budget process, or we may even have to do an amendment to the budget, we don't know that yet. But we've got a fundraising effort underway right now. The Tourism Commission's, we've asked them for a commitment to get us some money to get us up and going, and a 4-year commitment from the Tourism Commission. So, you know, it's hard to tell, Keith, and how the bills are going to come in, but you guys will be aware of whatever happens. I'll make you a promise there. Any other questions on the budget itself?
No.
Otherwise, entertain a motion to approve on first reading, advertise for second.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget on first reading.
Thank you, Bernard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sam Hutchins. Further discussion? All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove? The motion will carry.
I'd like to.
Magistrate Lear was in favor of the budget as well. He did want me to point out the drama deal, and
That's the reason he's not here.
I did my due diligence.
I would like to thank Rhonda and you for the budget. I think it's a very fair budget. I'm proud to be part of it.
Thank you. We went back and forth a few times, didn't we, Ron?
A few.
Yeah, she even walked in my office and one with her head hung down. We won't go into those details, but we were talking about it. Okay. Next would be your standing orders. That's a separate item. Looks like this. All the orders that we pay monthly, and just for the public and magistrate candidates and magistrate. Every year that we have to approve bills that are going to be paid monthly, such as to the city of Bardstown for the GIS services, that the rents like at the ambulance in New Haven and Bloomfield, county attorney expenses, PVA expenses, Dr. Smith's expense for the management of the ambulance service. It's a list here. I'd be glad to provide you a copy of this after the court meeting. But the court has to approve those, and that way it's called a standing order, and we can pay those bills on a timely basis. Motion to approve the standing orders. Motion by Jerry Hahn, second by Keith Metcalf. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove? The motion will carry. Thank you. Oh, done messed my sheet up here, haven't I? He's out of order. That's not good. Okay, next would be a second reading of the budget amendment that we did. We did the first reading, I believe,
Yes.
Back in May, yeah, okay. We held it purposely for just a little while because the state had to approve some numbers. Motion to approve on second reading and adoption.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Sam Hutchins,
Second.
second by Bernard Ice. All approve, say aye.
Uh,
Disapprove? And motion will carry. Basically, that's money that we received and have to show an allocation for in our budget, above what we had budgeted. Okay, next would be the tax settlement from the 2018 Mike Newton as the sheriff. And this will be an approval pending audit, guys. You're accepting a matter of records, basically all you're doing. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Jerry Hahn. Is there a second?
I'll make second.
Second by Sam Hutchins. All approve, say aye.
uh,
Disapprove?
When is the
Motion
audit?
carries. When is the audit? One audit is just completed, and I guess Mike,
We still have, we called them several times, they still haven't done Ed Bagley's audit yet.
and they haven't done our audit yet, right?
They're not finished.
Not finished our audit. That was for last year, though, 2 years ago.
2017.
17. That's how far behind they are. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, too. Okay. Let's see, the Stephen Foster lease, we'll pass on that because we're going to keep that lease in our name up until the time we do this construction project. Tourism budget. You guys have a copy of the 18-19 budget showing the revenue and expenses for the tourism. Mike Mangin is here today, and Mike, would you want to, you guys have any questions for Mike? You want to drill him like you guys drilled me back in my office a few minutes ago?
I'm happy to entertain any questions.
The mayor and I met with Mike a week ago Tuesday, a week ago today, and asked for some commitments from the Tourism Commission to help us with the amphitheater project. And you got to present that to your board, I guess,
Be on the 19th.
19. We've asked for a commitment of over a 4-year period, plus a commitment for the expenses up to date, for to get us open for the 60th season. And you want to do an amendment to the budgets to handle that, whatever they approve.
Correct.
That was a question Keith actually
At the
had.
time that we were putting this budget together, we'd not received the official request from the mayor and the judge for the money for the Stephen Foster. We knew it was coming, but we wanted to go ahead and have basically our operational budget, working budget in place, and knew where we were on that. So we'll go back if the commission approves it, and there's no reason to think that they won't. They knew the request was coming as well, and everyone seemed supportive. And then we'll do an addendum to our budget, which previously is what had happened on some other situations like this here. So.
Mayor, I don't know if you guys, Bert, you're the only one around, I think, with Bob Wickland. The Tourism Commission committed $50,000 a year for 4 years to help us with Wickland when we purchased that property as well.
And this will be a 5-year commitment, as the judge said, so 50 this year and then 50 for the next 4 years after that. We feel pretty strongly that the revenues have been going up. Last year, we budgeted, and I was not here, but the committee budgeted a 5% increase, which was a little more aggressive than they normally had. It was usually 3% on revenues, and we went back to the 3% this year.
Because it can flatten out pretty fast.
It can, and actually near the end of this year, our revenues seem to be picking up a little bit. But if you think about it, when you're funded by restaurant tax and hotel tax, bad weather in a month, people aren't going out and eating, that can impact you, and that happened actually in January with us, and February to some extent. But we're very confident in this. My tendency is to be pretty conservative on my revenues and pretty aggressive on my expenses when I budget. So our plan is to monitor the budget obviously every month, but if we have a project that comes in under budget, we'll turn that money and move it into mainly marketing. We are a destination marketing organization, so as much money as we can put into marketing our Bardstown, Nelson County as a destination, the better.
Like the line item in digital media, that's $220,000 in print advertising, $115,000. Years ago, it was much more print advertising than it was digital.
Right.
And so when you spend $220,000 on the internet advertising, I mean, is this, where's it go? I mean, you know.
That's a great-
I mean, who gets, I mean, what
Yeah,
kind of
that's
companies
that's a
do
great
this?
question. If anybody in here has ever searched the internet for, let's say, a pair of boots, and when you go on there and you search for a pair of boots, and then you leave that website and you're looking up something later on, and an ad comes up for that pair of boots that you were looking for, that ever happened to
Comes out
anybody?
on the side here.
Yeah, that's the kind of marketing we're talking about. It's called retargeting. All the stuff that you've seen with Facebook up in Congress about them selling that data, that's kind of what this is a little bit. Not for political purposes, that's probably a bad example, but it's that kind of digital advertising. And what it allows you to do is be very, very specific on where you market. I'll give you a great example. If I wanted to go into Chicago and market to Chicago, folks to come down from Chicago here, and some of you are thinking, why would you do that? Well, Chicago's our third largest market on our internet visits right now, behind Atlanta and Louisville.
I would have thought Ohio area would have been.
No, our top 5 right now, if you went back and looked at last year, were Louisville, Atlanta, Chicago, Nashville, and then I think Lexington. So anyway, but if I want to go into Chicago, there's no way I can afford TV. I could run one ad on one of their news stations, and that's probably my whole budget.
Oh, your budget.
Yeah, but being able to, you can actually slice it up by zip code. You can slice it up, by demographics. Who are we trying to go after? And with a budget this size and the competitive environment that we're in, we need to be very strategic about it. So the digital marketing gives us that flexibility. It's hard to show you. I can't do a tear sheet out of a magazine and come in and say, here's the ad. Because if I'm not targeting you digitally, you're probably not going to see the advertising. So, it's the types of websites that really, you can buy networks. It really just comes down to what the interests are. The way I would market the drama is much different than the way I'm going to market coming along to Bourbon Country or along the Bourbon Trail. So it's going to be different audiences, different messages, and digital gives you the opportunity to do that. Print is pretty staid, pretty static. Here's the ad. You hope it gets read a couple times and seen. The other thing with digital that it gives us the opportunity, I can track how many clicks I'm getting off of it immediately, and if it's not working, we can tweak the message and change it. And from there, I can track where they're coming from. If I run that ad in Chicago, like I said, I can go back and see specifically how many people clicked on that from that ad. And that gives us, whether your awareness is working, whether your message is effective or not. So we're probably 65-35 digital to print. And I'll never get away from print. It does have a role, but digital is just very much more interactive and immediate.
Newspaper people hate to hear what you just said.
They do, but I'll tell you, I was deputy commissioner for the state under Governor Patton, and that was just in between 2002 and 2004. And at that time, our primary medium at the state was newspaper inserts all over the South. And that's how quickly digital has overtaken that. You don't hear that a lot anymore. But digital, it just gives us, and that's everything from phone. When I say digital, that's a laptop, that's a phone, that's a tablet, that's
Don't you find those
anything like that.
annoying though, those ads, a lot of times?
Sure they are. That's why you have to hit them over and over and over again. Yeah, but we track all that. I mean, and how many times have you hit one accidentally and said, oh, I don't want that, and you get out of it? Well, we track that. I mean, it's called a bounce rate. If somebody's in there for less than 10 seconds, you know they didn't mean to hit it. So what you're trying to do is lower that as much as possible so that you're only getting the people that are interested in you.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
It's about a third of your budget in advertising,
Mhm.
and then almost another third in salaries.
We
How many
added,
people you employ?
we have 4 full-time.
4 full-time?
And that counts me, and we just added a social media director. The social media director, social media, just like the digital side of it, is very, very important now. And for a number of reasons. One, that's how people engage, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. You need somebody as a destination monitoring that, promoting that. How many of you use Facebook? Most of you. When you see, it's called a promoted ad on Facebook come up, That's somebody's social media director pushing that. And you can push the social media ad for $20. But what's important about engagement in that is that all builds into your Google Analytics. If somebody goes in and types in distillery destination, bourbon country, Bardstown, whatever it may be, that social media now plays into where you come up on those results. So it doesn't just happen. That's called organic search. But so we brought that person on. We were paying for that service through our ad agency. We'll actually save money overall and be able to place more money in media by having Sam downstairs, Sam Lacey's who we hired, if you haven't met him. But it's not just for us. He's going to be helping Main Street. He's helping BCCA. He's helping, and I think that's one of our roles, the chamber on their events, helping push that stuff out as well.
Okay, you said you was targeting Chicago with some...
Well, I don't know right now. I just use that as an
All
example.
right, and we'll just use that too. What and when do you know if it dries up there to pull out because of the views and go after another state, or how do you determine that?
Well, as I said, it's very immediate, and you're able to track whether the ad is working. It all...
By the views of how many people viewed it?
By the views, and you can also on the back end on our side of it structure, it's called Google Analytics, where I can go into our website.
That's a little bit above my head, but I'm learning.
Well, that's how I can tell you that people, what our top 10 markets are. And it's really how we structured on the back end what we're trying to capture. And frankly, we haven't done as good a job of that as I had hoped in the past, but we're going to be working with all of our vendors. It really comes down to what am I trying to do? What in our industry, it's called what is your conversion? We don't do transactions on our website. What that means is you can't come to the Visit Bardstown website and book a hotel room. You can't buy a ticket to the dinner train. You can't buy a ticket to one of the distilleries for a tour. And I don't want to get into that. The cost and expense of that is exorbitant. I don't want to get into that. So actually being able to track, okay, that click went to this conversion, this hotel room, is almost impossible for us. What I can look at is activity on the website. What are they looking at? How long are they staying on the page? So if I'm marketing, for instance, in Chicago, that same example, come down for a long weekend, see the Stephen Foster story, and visit a distillery. What I'll be able to do is then go back in, if we've got it structured correctly, which we will, and be able to see not only where they came from, but what did they look at while they were here? How long were they on the page while they were here? So if I can see, well, this was the messaging of our ads, and that's exactly what they're looking at, then I've got to look at that as conversion. That message is doing what we want. It's on the back end of it. Did they actually come? You just have to wait and see that on that.
Yeah.
And really what you're trying to do, as I said, is be strategic on your messaging as possible, and try and track it. And it takes a while. I say it's immediate being able to see, yes, that ad worked as far as people are viewing it and coming to the website. Then it's a month or so later when you start seeing revenues. Did the revenues go up around that?
I'm just looking in it's like my private business.
Mm-hmm.
If I spend a third of my money just on advertising, where am I at now? Well, how do you...
That's $1 million question.
Yeah, I know, it's a big
Well, if
question.
I had $1 million, we could talk then. No, but remember, that's what we are. We are a destination marketing organization. Our whole role, if I could put 50% of my budget in marketing, I would do it. Because I believe that's what our purpose and mission is. Best example and description of tourism I ever heard was by an economic development friend of mine who said it's pick in your pocket and make you smile about it. We want people to come here, we want people to spend money, we want them to have a good experience, and frankly, we want them to leave because we don't want to have to pay for them with our police and education and everything else. We want them to have a good experience and come back. But that's what it's about. So as much money as we can put into marketing, I'm going to try to do that.
Well, I know it worked in a spot up in Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter lives up there. 2 doors down, this lady came to me and said, I seen Bardstown on the internet. We want to go there for 4 days.
Yeah.
Tell me what we need to do. So in that case, I guess part of that $340,000 worked. Right?
It works. It works. It does work.
Well, thank you for answering my question.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve. Motion by Bernard Ice, second by Jerry Hahn. Further discussion? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove? The motion will carry. Thank you all. Next would be an appointment to the Board of Appeals for Assessments. We have a vacancy open. Philip Gaffney, who is a contractor, a builder, has agreed to serve. And Barbara said it would be a good addition because she's got other sectors already covered in that field, and this would be a good addition. Motion to approve by Keith Metcalf. Is there a second? By Bernard Ice. Discussion? All approve, say aye. Disapprove? You approve?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. Motion carries. Just so you know, that is a paid position in the county, $100 a day. Usually have 2 or 3 appeals. I think the appeal deadline's already expired, but I don't know if she had any more added in the last week, 10 days that, remember, she came to the court last time and discussed that. But it is a small paid position. Next would be discussion on the 17-18 audit contract. Rhonda wanted to discuss that with you folks.
Just a little bit. The state auditor's office has asked us this year to hire a private CPA firm to do our audit because the state is busy. They're overwhelmed with all the audits that they have to do and the backlog that they're currently in. Like we were saying earlier, we're still waiting for our fiscal year 2017 audit, which, you know, we're almost at the end of the 18 here. They actually came and did field work back in November, December, January. We still haven't gotten that.
Haven't had the exit yet.
We're waiting, yeah. We haven't had the exit conference. We're still waiting for the closeout audit on the sheriff, for Ed, and I think we're at the county clerk's office now working. So, but anyway, they've asked us to hire a CPA firm. So I'm in the process right now of obtaining quotes from different firms to do our audit. And I'm looking at firms that have done other county government audits. The state's actually done our audit since 2010, the last 8 years. The cost of the audit since 2007, back in 2007, our audit cost $8,500 just for the fiscal court. Last year for 2016, it was $17,500. It's doubled. And that, when the state does the audit, we're required to pay half the cost. So basically, the cost of our audit is about $35,000. When we hire a CPA firm, we're required to pay the full cost of the audit. So I'm in the process of obtaining quotes right now. I think we'll be good. I think we'll be under what the state has charged us because the state, like I said, they'll come in here and sit for 3 months and do our audit, where if we have a private firm, they'll probably be in here, I would say 3 to 4 weeks at the most, be in and out and done. I don't know that the audit process will move any faster because the state will still have to review that audit before they release it, but that's kind of where we're sitting right now. The state's kind of washing their hands of it.
And the rest of the story is that we received a notice Friday.
Yes, we did, that's true.
Actually Monday myself, you
Right.
received it Friday after I left, where it was 50, where the state would pay 50% of the audit if you use their auditor, because they do bounce around maybe from one county to another and won't sit down and finish the county's audit all at one time. That's why the length of time, it's hard to track the hours. I've tried that before and it's hard to keep up with. And now, instead of 50-50 like she just announced,
Don't pay anything.
it's 75-25 if we use theirs.
Right. So for our audit could
Matthew,
potentially,
you
the state will
appreciate
be
that number.
$17,000 to $25,000.
Pushing down.
Just based
Pushing
on the
down.
cost.
Pushing it to the counties.
Well, is there any way you can, if whoever you choose, give it to them monthly so they could, or no?
No, the
No.
audit has to be done based on
A
your
full
year-
annual
as-
report.
as our financials as of June 30th, 2018. So, and because it's a professional service, we don't have to bid it, we can get it.
We can
So,
select.
Just-
Shout it.
You all select who you want.
So you need a motion
Yeah,
to
and
do
I'll
that, or
some
just,
research.
We're getting quotes right now, we'll
I'm
bring
getting
back
quotes
to
right
you.
now, so at the meeting on the 19th, I'll present those to you. I'm gonna do a little research on the firms that are quoting, just make sure that they've got their, everything's in order with those firms, that they've got their peer reviewed.
Now,
process.
the state auditor's office offered a little carrot. If you'll remember, Ron, in that sheriff's audit, and I believe it was the clerk's audit, could do
It's called agreed upon procedures.
Yeah, basically a review.
It is, I mean, you can set on an agreed upon procedures, you can set the standards that you want the auditor to look at specifically in the sheriff or the clerk's office. And that would be less in scope than an audit, which means cheaper. I don't know how that's going to work.
And the quality of the audit too,
Right.
you know, the thoroughness of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the sheriff handles a lot of money, don't you, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
And the clerk handles a lot of money.
Now,
So that review is a good review, I think, the way it's set up.
does a CPA firm have to be certified by the state, or is their CPA license
You have,
enough?
no, the firm has to be set up to do audits. They have to have been qualified to issue an audit report. And I'm just requesting quotes from firms that have done other local government audits. I want to kind of stay with that same in that realm.
Because our audits we're on a cash basis.
Yes, somewhat. It's called regulatory basis now. They've changed the terminology over
Yeah,
the
but
years.
it's really same principle.
Crazy, yeah.
I don't know why they do the other. Okay, thank you,
Just
Mike.
letting you know where we're at.
Road Department report, Brad.
Okay, there are, so both bridges on Hugh Ice Loop and Hickman Loop, we've got guardrail on them. On Hugh Ice Loop, it's been paved now, so that turned out really, really
Really
good.
nice.
Keith, we are now paving, patching, so as we work through the county, when we get through your area, we'll take care of that paving.
We got guardrail on both of them, though.
Guardrails on both of them. We have met our requirement now, I believe, so we'll go for reimbursement on that from the state. You guys know we had a really, it was a very localized storm in Chaplin last week. I talked to some of you guys about it. They had like 3.5 inches in 30, 40 minutes, Jerry, something like that. Needless to say, the crews worked about 11 o'clock that night, cleaning up the mess and the debris, and it peeled asphalt off of not Terrell Lane, talk about that one in a minute. Greens Chapel and Timber Creek. So Jerry, after we're at the drama today paving, patching, I should say. When we get done there, we're heading that direction. So tell them to be patient, we're heading that way to patch those spots. I mean, it peeled the top layer of asphalt off in several areas up there. So we're headed that direction.
What caused that to peel, Brad? Should it had more tackle?
I don't know. I talked with the state about that, Jude Filatcher, and asked him if he'd ever seen it. He could have been not enough tack. It could have been water got in a seam and broke it loose.
Pushed it up like a balloon?
I don't know.
It just
The issue,
floats it up.
Treason Lee's with us. We're heading up,
It's amazing. It's amazing what.
yeah, we're heading up after court. I may have to peel some of that top layer off if it got underneath it, some spots, even though it's still there. You can't pave over if it's not stuck, so I don't know if we gotta figure out what we're gonna do. We had fixed Terrell Lane until that occurred. So we'll go back, we'll have to regrade it back up. That is a county road, it just had needed some work on it. So we'll fix it back.
And this is a gravel road.
He took the
Correct.
cover out now, when you go up there. It's down at the bottom of the hill.
All right, we'll pick it up. Bush hogging,
That's in District 5 for you two
Yeah.
candidates out here. There's a few gravels left.
we are in the last district for bush hogging. People probably won't believe it, because I know Burners, we started in yours, so it's back to, yeah, so hopefully in a week or so, we'll be back into your district, we'll be out of yours and back to Burners. Boom on, we just barely got started on it, we did Tool Creek and most of Hardin Leslie. Again, when we're paving, that's what gets shut down because of the number of guys we got. Something I need officially from you guys today, to maybe a couple things. If you all heard me, I talked about salt bids. The state takes care of that for us for CAECO. They had an issue with their computer system where it blocked people out where they could not do it. We actually, and I've never even opened them, we actually had 2 bids from Cargill and Morton Salt. They told us we need to officially reject these. And they're gonna rebid it on July 12th because of the computer system. I've never even opened them. Don't even wanna open them, don't even know what the bids are. So we need a fiscal court motion to reject the
Reject the
Morton call.
2 bids from
Correct.
salt, reverse salt auction, they call it.
And then I'll rebid them again.
Motion's been made by Bernard Ice, second by Jerry Hahn. Discussion. All approve, say aye. Disapprove?
Motion carried. Keiko takes care of all that for us, it's just a matter of us putting it in paper.
That's worked pretty effective to get competitive bids.
Yeah.
Speaking of material bids, we have material bids opening this Friday for asphalt, rock, culvert, every fuel, everything we always do every year that I take care of. At the next court meeting, I'll come to you guys with what the cost will be and we'll improve on that as well. Dean, do you want to talk about Woodlawn Road or not? That what you got yesterday?
Yeah, we did receive a grant, emergency grant of $101,000, 110, something like that, what, 101?
101,448.
And the cost estimate was 110, so that's, and with the contingency, we added the contingency, so we got our 80/20 basically what we did.
Correct.
So we need to advertise for bids for that.
Correct, and you guys.
We've already approved that advertisement.
What I was waiting on, and Sam and I discussed it a little bit, I wanted to see what we were gonna get approved for on the direction in which how I was gonna repair it. Because if I was not gonna get funded, we were going to come up with creative alternative ways to fix this area. What it is for the media, we had a culvert that collapsed, it's about 20 feet below the road surface, so we have to dig down, replace the culvert, build it back, and then not, what, Sam, 400 or 500 feet up the road, if that?
About 150.
We have another road slide where the whole side of the road's collapsing down probably now 10 to 12 feet below road level. We have about a 2-foot shoulder is all we got left there.
And by the way, the state said they were inundated with these types of requests because of the rains we've had this spring.
Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, that money comes from when you guys sign your agreement to take road funds, a certain portion of that money.
State withholds 3%
Correct.
of those gas tax revenues that normally would come to the counties. And if you participate in that program, you can apply for those emergency funds. Some years in the past, we've never had to ask for any, so somebody else benefited. This year, would probably be a couple more we'll go for, so we'll benefit this year. It's called a 3% holdback money, and almost every county participates with it. You don't have to participate, but then you eat the big cost sometimes when you don't. So it's kind of like an insurance
Cheap
policy.
insurance.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. We'll move on then to the landfill solid waste report.
We got all our waste tires removed the past couple of weeks. It ended up being 11 loads, just over 191 tons. That's up just under about 20,000 tires, passenger tires. That's quite a bit of tires. So those get sent down to Marion, Kentucky for playground mulch or whatever they use that recycles for. I did get our geotech report that we're working on for our expansion. Got that last night. So in my spare time, I'll start working on the administrative app for the next phase.
That didn't sound too good. You got spare time on your hands, John? I don't see it.
I'll answer for him now.
We did advertise for the window project, gonna open up bids next Friday, so at the next court meeting, we'll discuss. Hopefully, we can have some bids that people aren't scared of getting up that high to replace them.
Okay. Anything else?
Real quick, explain to these guys, because the type of window you bid out.
Okay, so basically this was it was a gentleman's type window, but it's a wood window. It's a rot-free wood on the exterior. Like a lot of your treated lumber, it's just treated, pressure treated on the outside, but this is a guaranteed rot-free, guaranteed termite's not going to get through, so it's basically, it should last a long time. Basically, it's the same thing at Talbot Inn, same thing that we used at Wickland, if you guys have seen that. But these are just basically standard fixed windows, not double hung, just a standard.
What kind of artifact are they?
I'd have to double check.
All the
A
ones.
lot of these are above, so it's not in a finished area.
Here is irrelevant because it's above and no
heating.
heating area.
Well, the high ones are, but what about these over here?
We renovated most of the lowest according to the historical.
We're not even bidding those, Ski.
The only thing in the conditioned area are these, we're doing an alternate for these front windows. So it'll be a standalone price, but those are the only
But
ones
let
that are
me
above.
tell you what we have priced at storms. To go on the ones we repaired below that's got the rating.
Then you got a double window to take care of.
You won't have any window to take care of other than a plate over it.
You know that farm windows thing?
These are not your traditional.
I like
storms.
aluminum windows.
Yeah.
Let us
200 years ago, if they had aluminum, they would have had aluminum windows then.
Let's get the bids in. We'll talk about it at the next court meeting. See what
We've gotten most of the bottom ones on the first floor repaired. They're usable. You can actually, girls downstairs can raise them up and down, working on Jan's getting hers on this, at least two every room, I'm trying to get two windows where you can have a draft, where they're functional.
And they're saying 20 years on this wood, that's what they're saying.
They're saying it's guaranteed forever for not rotting, for no termites, but just the standard warranty is the 20-year warranty on the windows.
That's it, that's the.
I'll be an old guy by then, let her go.
Recreation report, let's move on. I know when to move on.
See you by then.
Soccer's finished up, but soccer right now, they have some camps going on out there for the little kids and even the older kids. Soccer is about to take on another field and do another field project. Supposed to start that in the next week or so. They've already killed the field off and they're gonna do another Bermuda field, so it'll look nice. Baseball's wrapping up, got this week and next week. If some of y'all probably don't know, Busic's Construction donated a scoreboard for baseball. Anybody else? So I want to thank them for helping us out and getting us a new scoreboard. It was.
You got an extra one, Tyler? You get Randy's?
You can have it. I got one. So I want to thank them for helping us out.
I call them thank you too.
And then the road department, Mark and Keith helped me Friday. It was a long day getting it up. And we had some troubleshooting that me and Mark had to do yesterday to get it up and running. So hopefully the kids and everybody enjoy it. Football, here at the end of July, they're having a punt, pass, and kick competition out at the park. Just kind of get some awareness for football, grow some interest, and just get people out to the park and have some fun. But besides that, nothing.
Thank you. Keep up the good work, Tyler.
Appreciate it.
EMS report, Joe?
The main numbers for calls responded to were 568. 112 of those were non-transport calls. During the month of May, we did several school PR events. For the end of school, we've done 2 CPR classes for the month of May for the public, and 3 industries that we responded to for a public relations event. And that'll be the report for May.
No, it's not either. I mean, you want the rest of your report. You give us the easy news first.
As a part of our budget process this year, the run steadily declined from years previously, which of course when the runs go down a little, then the revenue goes down. But unfortunately our expenses stay the same or increase a bit every year. This year is where we find ourselves in one of those years. As balancing the budget, Judge and I met several times in Rhonda. We either had 2 options. We either increase the tax revenue subsidy or we increase our rates. I did extensive investigation with surrounding counties that operate much like we do, and that's the only way you can really do a comparison. You can't go, say, to Washington County that operates one service and one location service and do not have the number of employees or number of expenses. So we looked at Hardin, we looked at Bullitt, which operate the same. We looked at Oldham as one, and then we looked at LaRue County because of the way they operate. They keep 2 or 3 trucks on their close neighbor as a different option. So Hardin, as you see, Hardin and Breckenridge County pretty much operate the same we do, and they have rates significantly higher than we do. Bullitt County operates pretty much in the same fashion as we do based on run volume. They have 4 stations similar to us, but their rates are significantly lower than Hardin and Breckenridge and LaRue, but they have a over $850,000 tax subsidy to operate their service. So they're looking at increasing their rates as well to offset some of their tax subsidy. Bottom line is, in order to balance our budget, EMS budget, court would need to approve the increase in our fees based on my presentation.
Guys, when we presented the budget earlier in the year, Ron and I announced that our EMS budget was based on this rate increase, this type of rate increase. And if you remember about a year and a half, 2 years, a year and a half ago, maybe now, but Joe, we were losing paramedics.
October 2016.
2 years ago, almost, a year and a half anyway. We were losing paramedics to the hospitals, et cetera. And in order to try to retain those paramedics, which is basically about 2.5 year degree type of person, we had to up salaries to compensate for that. And we've been able to retain them, right, Joe, since we've done that. So that was a good investment on the course part. And I would recommend the rates as presented today.
Well, the paramedics at 2 years or 3 years?
What?
School.
2.5 years.
How do these county numbers, population-wise, compare with us, like Breckenridge, LaRue?
Breckenridge is like 20,000. Bullets, 80.
I don't have.
Bullett's about 70,000 in that range. Hardin's about 105 or 10.
Breckenridge is what?
Breckenridge is 20,000.
20, about half, right?
It's about half and half the counties you picked.
Yeah.
2 of the counties are littler than us, and 2 of the counties are almost twice.
Compare the
us.
rates, that's why I chose those
Yeah.
counties.
Yeah.
But I don't look at the population, I look at the run volume each county does. And we're right in the middle. Hardin County is by far, they're at 17,000, 18,000 runs a year. Bullitt County is about 11,000, 12,000 runs a year. And that's kind of based on population too. If you look at the population, you look at
Right.
And
But
you stop thinking about it though, you have to have ambulances sitting around waiting to help people. Whether you have the runs or not, I mean, to a certain point, you gotta have a basic service. And then the transports and all that we're doing now is causing probably the biggest problem with us, Joe, isn't it?
the transport's being down is caused our budget not to meet expectations. Expenses are on target. The revenue was not.
Is there a solution to that?
Increase these rates.
Let's go get a
Go out and injure more people.
motion to approve by Jerry with Sanchez to make a motion. A second by Bernard Ice. Now, some more discussion.
I'm good with it.
No more discussion, then all approved, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove. Motion carried. That was a weak aye.
Well, I don't want it to be like the,
It wouldn't be weak if he had to have them to come out there.
That defibrillator, if the battery goes on your defibrillator, let's move on. Jail report.
Today, we have a total of 169 inmates. We have 4 in Hardin County, 2 on home incarceration. We have 49 state inmates. We have 2 serving weekends. And we have 2 that's out to court in other counties. So we have an in-house total of 159. Of course, this week, we have circuit courts, so we're bringing some in from other counties for court. And then, either today or tomorrow, we'll probably be able to get about 6 of the state inmates shipped to another county because they're lifting the quarantine off of one of the cells today.
Thanks, Doris. Anybody questions for Doris? How many you got in jail right now?
I know it's 159.
I thought we was getting rid of some state.
We did, and they come back up.
They come back in.
They're pushing back up, and all these are not state, and the state doesn't have beds right now.
And what was the Dorcas, what the ex-sheriff Ed Magma used to say, it's a catch and release program. Revolving door.
The crime rate is increasing in Nelson County. I mean, you can look in the paper and see the drug crimes and everything. Their bonds are so high, they can't get out. They're not eligible for a low bond. So, what do you do?
It was kind of interesting last night on the news. They were showing in Jersey County, they run out of burial space because like they had 150 deaths of all the cemeteries
Oh,
that
burial.
filled up because of drugs, deaths.
Overdose.
Yes, dead and killings in Jersey County, so the graveyards are filling up.
Really?
Under old, they are doing some of that double stacking now. Old and new business, not on the agenda, but you have some information in your mail, in your box I want to review with you. And that's the Planning Commission fees for this year. The first item that was in your box, I hope I put it, I intended to, and I'm not sure that, yeah, I did think so earlier, is a single-page report that shows the Planning Commission 2016 to 17.
Yeah.
It's a one-page. It shows basically how we fund the Planning Commission. And for the candidates out there and yourself there, Gary, this is pretty important to kind of understand. The Planning Commission takes in X number of dollars in revenue. It's never enough to cover the office expense. And this has been going on since the Planning Commission was started back in the 70s. And whatever's not covered, then it's shared by the fiscal court and the 4 corporate cities we have in our county. And that's Bardstown, Bloomfield, New Haven, and Fairfield. And it's based on a percentage of the population that you're covering in those jurisdictions. And for instance, Nelson County, the total cost of the Planning Commission was less the reimbursement they gave us in excess fees was $183,472. And I assure you that they earn every penny that they charge for this program, because they get a lot of inquiries and a lot of some rezonings, but more inquiries than anything. And so that report shows what we had to put in. Last year we put in, this was actually the last fiscal year that we had reported, $126,000 above what the fees took in.
What year was this? Last year?
In the June 2017. That's the last 4 fiscal years, so you're kind of a little bit behind the way we have. And we'll bill the cities this sometimes in July. And it works good. But the Planning Commission this year needs some additional funds. Number one, to do a full comprehensive plan review. We haven't done that, Jan. When's the last time?
It was actually done in 1995, was the last time that the cities and the county hired a consultant to do a complete overhaul of the comprehensive plan. So it's over 25 years old. I did the last not major update, but I did an update in 2011. In 2016, the comprehensive plan by state law has to be either reworked or readopted every 5 years. So in 2016, I started the process of looking at what are the issues, what do we need to do with the plan, and had conversations with the city and the consultation cabinet and Brad. And when we got into our infrastructure issues and our growth issues, the Planning Commission and I talked that it really needs, the whole thing needs to be reworked. We've got infrastructure concerns with sewer, we've got traffic issues, and what we don't want to do is proceed with our comprehensive plan the way it is and promote growth in areas where we don't have adequate infrastructure. So at this point, because of our staffing, with only having 3 full-time staff, that's more than I can take on and do. And I think it's also time, after 25 years, that we involve the public in this process, which is exactly what happened in 1995.
We have a lot of
community-wide, a lot of participation, a lot of public hearings, a lot of meeting with stakeholders. So it's just something that we need to do now to really move forward. And Brad, when we had the city and county meeting together, Jessica Viliatro with the city brought it up, and Brad spoke to it, that this is just something we really need from the county as a whole to move forward with proper managed growth. We're just at capacity in a lot of areas, and we have some concerns with where we're going to encourage residential growth and how we're going to do that. Commercial growth, we're set with commercial zoning. Industrial, we need to work on in the comprehensive plan, where's the next industrial park going to go? So a lot of it's just a staffing issue. I could do that work, but that takes me out of doing a lot of the day-to-day work in the office. We just don't have the staff last time I did it, it was pre having children, and I spent a lot of time on my own after hours doing that, and I just don't have the capability to do that anymore. But so it's also been, the comprehensive plan is that would be the major thing. We could use the excess, what we're hoping this fee schedule will do is allow us to collect excess fees that we can retain to use to hire a consultant. Our budget right now, we're trying to, over the years, we've tried to return as much money as we can to offset what the local governments have to pay. We've been very conservative in our office, and I joke and say we're the stepchild agency, but we're very conservative. We pretty much go low budget on everything, no vehicles, no cell phones. I mean, we're at the lowest we can go, and I can't cut anywhere else. We're just at the bottom line. So my goal is to use the fee schedule to boost the excess revenues. My budget right now forecast for next year is I'm only going to collect or carry over $2,800 in excess revenues. It's going to take me a long time to collect $50,000 to do a comp plan.
Can you explain what you pay for out of your budget versus what we do?
Right. And, you know, we're different than other city and county agencies. We are tasked to use our revenues to pay for our legal counsel. We can't use the city or county attorney. I do occasionally, because every time I call our attorney, it's hitting the clock. So, but I can use those services, but I have to pay for all of our legal fees out of what we collect. It depends on what year it is and what we've got going on. This year we have a lot of legal going on, so that just reduces my excess revenues I have for other projects. I'm also required to have the auditor. That's an addition. That's state law. I have a separate audit in our office, which that might be what we can look at is to reduce that cost, is piggybacking on what the county is going to do. Whoever you hire, maybe we could piggyback on that and have it done at the same time and reduce that cost. Our insurance, we have public officials liability. We cannot piggyback on the city or county because we're a joint agency. So we have to have our own public officials liability, which, you know, dealing with people's property, we're a risky business, and that's a $12,000 liability policy just for the planning commission. So between the legal fees,
Advertising.
and advertising, all of our zone changes and things have to be advertised. So of course our labor is our personnel expenses are the most, but otherwise you get the legal fees, the audit, the notices, and that sort of thing. There's really no fluff in our budget each year, and again, we try to return as much back every year as we can, and we try to carry over some money to, you know, if we have to replace a computer or we have to do something different. And then next year, we've already told the cities and the county that they can anticipate a 6% increase this year. Next year, we're only carrying over $2,800. We're looking at an 11% increase next year, and that's just going to continue with, you know, between our retirement contributions going up and just the cost of business.
I asked Jan, and she had this put together, and you guys have a copy of it. Stapled together a 4-page sheet showing a typical zoning from step 1 to go a cost analysis of a typical zone, a couple of typical zones.
We did this back when I came in 2003. I'll just kind of give you an example. We were charging $10 for a subdivision review, which was really, really low, and that was the first time the fee schedule had been increased, and we haven't done anything other than a cost of living, a CPI adjustment every year since 2005. The fee schedule has not been changed since 2005 other than that adjustment. But when we first started, we started tracking. Cindy and I sat down, and we started from the time that we meet with an individual till the time we go through the process of a zone change. And this is just a typical 1-acre zone change from ag to R1A for adjoining property owners, no opposition, and it's consistent with the comp plan. The process, whether you're doing 300 acres or 1 acre, is the same per state law. We can't get around notifying adjoiners, we can't get around putting in the newspaper, and there's all these details that come through it. So we went through and we put a tag, we put a price with everything we did from the time I meet with somebody till the time it's approved or denied, and it's added to the map. And added to the map is the last thing that has to be done. The estimated expense just for a typical rezoning is $438.64. We are currently charging $156.50. And then the proposed fee would be $195.50. So it'd be going up $40.
Jen, are there any counties that you're aware of that charge the true cost of doing business?
Oldham County or Shelby County is completely fee-based. And that worked really well pre-recession. They had over $1 million in surplus in the bank. Recession hit, and fees weren't coming in, and they went through that $1 million really quickly and had to go back to their fiscal court and their cities to boost their budget. But Oldham County is the only one I know, or Shelby County is the only one I really know that's actually fee-based. But their fees are you're looking at thousands of dollars for their zone changes and conditional use permits. So we're in line with everybody. We're never going to be able to cover the cost. I wouldn't even recommend that. We are a public service. There's a lot of things we do on a daily basis we don't charge for. I'm the floodplain coordinator for the entire county. We don't charge for that. There's a lot of things we do, inquiries on properties. We help a lot of people on divisions. There's just a lot of things we do we don't charge for. So we do a public service, and I think that's what fiscal court has always looked at is RRS is a public service, so we're not going to charge the full price. But this has been 13 years since we've increased fees, and I'm just not, with the recession, we're only doing 180 houses. We used to do 430, 400, 500 houses a year. We're just not collecting the fees that we used to. If it wasn't for the bourbon industry and Thai Summit and some of those others, I would be here with a a worse scenario if it wasn't for those.
Instead of us contributing $126,000, you could be using $150,000, $170,000.
If it hadn't been for the warehouses coming in and the industries, then it would have been 20%, 30% increases to the local governments. The other one is the conditional use permits. Those can take a lot more time and review, just because there's more specific criteria that we deal with. Variances is another one. So on an estimated cost for a conditional use permit or a variance is $344.53. That current fee is $217.50. The proposed fee would be $266.50. We also are required by law to do an annual inspection for conditional use permits. If you all remember a couple of years ago, we eliminated that $50 annual review fee. The staff still has to go out. I still have to review them every year. So I estimated it takes us $48 to go out to do that annual inspection on each one of them. But that fee was eliminated, and we lost a lot of revenue a couple of years ago when that was eliminated. We also eliminated a lot of the conditional use permits for the mobile homes, and that took a lot of fees out. So we've just had a lot of hits on the revenue side the last couple of years. And that packet too, I gave a chart that we've been tracking for several years. The blue line at the top are the zoning compliance permits. So you can see when we took the big hit in 2011. Down at the bottom, the green line are the personnel expenses. We've done really well. Cindy and I both took a cut in pay several years in a row during the recession. We've also tried to keep our increases at a minimum. We have had some staff changes. We did have a part-time inspector, but now I've coupled that with Alicia's position. Speaking of personnel, I did get notice that we have received, and at some point when the funding becomes available, I'll receive a $15,000 grant from the state to hire a part-time person to work on our records management. And so I'm hoping that money will come through in August. That's money that you all don't have to use to hire that part-time person, and it's no matching on it, so it's just free money from the state to hire that person for a year, which will help us. We've got 40 years of records that are in paper format, and they're all permanent records that have to be retained, so that person will help us with the scanning. We'd also gotten a $30,000 grant several years ago from KDLA to buy the software for this process. But the personnel expenses have been we haven't seen any significant increases over the 15 years. General operating expenses are in the red. Local government contributions are in purple. So.
Dan, I know I keep interrupting people. Technically, fiscal court does not approve the fees.
It says it needs to be in consultation.
In consultation, so they use that word that New Haven's already recommended approval.
Correct.
Bardstown Mayor, see that Bardstown Mayor is going to present it to his council next council meeting before the end of the year. You'd like to have something done with our court before July 1st.
We would like to see this go into effect July 1st.
July 1st. Next court meeting, guys, I'll ask you to basically concur. The planning commission can do it with or without us technically.
Right. I doubt that they will go that direction if you all don't, you know,
How
aren't,
much did you return to fiscal court last year?
not as much as we used to in the past, obviously, but, Rhonda got it.
44, I thought.
It was 44,735. And what fiscal court pay, the cities and the county pay for personnel expenses and rent that we pay you. Now, if you'd like to eliminate that rent, we could work that out as well.
That's just a number to keep a business approach to your budget.
We do. We have a lease.
Because we're paying it anyway.
Right. You're paying 3/4 of the
That's right.
rent, 69% of the rent, but we do pay $11,125
And
in
just to
rent.
show this, what you take, takes your office cost.
$10,000 a month.
That includes janitorial, utilities, et cetera. We'll bring it back to the next court meeting, guys. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Okay. Did you get that information you wanted? Okay, any other business before the court, magistrates, you have anything to present, Matthew, anybody? No? Anybody else have anything from a department's perspective? What is that noise?
It's my phone.
Eddie don't know how to turn it off. Motion to adjourn by Sam Hutchins, second by Bernard Ice. All approved, say aye. Disapprove, the motion will carry. Thank you all.
Okay, let you know.